Something hit the earth. Not gradually, not slowly, in a moment. The energy release, catastrophic. So violent that an ice sheet the size of a continent detonated upward. And what happened next changed everything. The world that existed before was simply gone. In Greenland's ice cores, cylinders of compressed snow drilled from depths that represent tens of thousands of years of atmosphere. Scientists found something that changed how this story gets told. The temperatures didn't shift gradually. In some measurements, it changed in as few as 3 years. 3 years. To put that in scale, the entire span of recorded human history is roughly 5,000 years. 3 years is not a climate trend. 3 years is a phone call. 3 years is an event. And in that event, megafauna went extinct across 3 continents. Sea levels shifted. Entire coastlines disappeared underwater. The world that existed before was gone. Over 217 independent cultures on every inhabited continent recorded what came next. They called it the Flood. In episode 1, we established the pattern. The same story told by cultures that had no contact with each other. The Flood, the 7 teachers, the 2 brothers. In episode 2, we went deeper into who those 7 were. The Apkallu of Mesopotamia, the Saptarishi of Vedic tradition, Egypt's Shebtu, 7 figures every time who arrived before recorded history and gave humanity civilization. They brought a warning. Episode 3 is about what that warning was for. For most of the 20th century, the mainstream scientific position was that the Ice Age ended gradually. Climate warmed slowly. Glaciers retreated slowly. Sea levels rose slowly. Orderly, predictable, nothing to explain any sudden changes in the record. Then came the ice cores. When researchers drilled into the Greenland ice sheet and analyzed the compressed layers of atmosphere going back hundreds of thousands of years, they found something that forced a reckoning. The Younger Dryas period. A sudden return to near glacial conditions that followed the initial warming. Didn't end the way a slow climate shift ends. It ended like a switch being flipped. In 2007, a team of researchers, led by Richard Firestone, published findings in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. What they found in the soil layers, dating to approximately 12,900 years ago, was a set of markers that don't occur naturally in normal geological processes. Nanodiamonds, which form only under extreme pressure and heat. Platinum group elements at concentrations that point to extraterrestrial origin. Tiny microspherules of melted and resolidified material. Magnetic particles. The same layer on multiple continents simultaneously. This is what is now called the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis. It is peer-reviewed science. It is debated, as all good science is, but the evidence layer is real, and it has been found independently by multiple research teams around the world. What it describes is a fragmented object, like a comet that had broken apart, impacting and airburst detonating over the Lorendale ice sheet in North America. The heat destabilized massive volumes of glacial ice. Fresh water flooded into the North Atlantic. That fresh water disrupted the ocean circulation system. the same system that regulates temperatures across the entire northern hemisphere. The result was not continued warming. The result was a sudden 1,000-year return to near glacial conditions, followed eventually by rapid warming again, followed by the melting of the remaining ice sheet, followed by rising seas. Coastlines flooded, river valleys flooded, lowland settlements, if they existed, went underwater. 217 cultures independently recorded what the people living through it experienced. What is remarkable is not simply that the flood narratives exist everywhere. What is remarkable is the specific details they share across cultures that had no documented contact with each other. The oldest written flood narrative comes from ancient Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. The Atrahasis Epic predates the book of Genesis by over 1,000 years. In it, a man named Atrahasis, or in the later Gilgamesh version, Utnapishtim, is warned by the god Enki that a flood is coming. He's told to build a vessel. He's told exactly what to bring. He survives. Almost everything else dies. The parallels to Genesis are not vague. They're specific. The vessel resting on a mountain. The sending out of birds to find dry land. The survivor making an offering when the waters recede. The god smelling the offering. These are not thematic parallels. These are the same story. The biblical account follows the same structure almost point by point. One man warned, vessel built, animals preserved, 40 days and 40 nights, the dove, the raven, the rainbow as covenant, the man, the landing on a mountain. In the Hebrew text, Ararat. In the Mahabharata and the Shatapatha, a man named Manu is warned of a coming flood by a divine fish. Later identified as an avatar of Vishnu, he built a great boat. He is the sole human survivor. He lands on a northern mountain. From him, humanity begins again. The structural elements, one man, divine warning, vessel, survival, landing on high ground, repopulation, identical framework, different gods, different names, but the same memory. In Greek tradition, Zeus decides to destroy humanity with a flood. Prometheus, or in some versions Hermes acting on Zeus's behalf, warns Deucalion. He builds a chest. He and his wife, Pyrrha, survive 9 days and nights on the water. They land on Mount Parnassus. They repopulate the earth. Deucalion is the Greek Noah. The warning, the vessel, the survival, the mountain, the repopulation. These are 4 of over 217 documented flood narratives collected from cultures across every inhabited continent. Aboriginal Australian, Cherokee, Aztec, Babylonian, Chinese, Norse, Polynesian. Not all of them match on every detail, but the core structure, a catastrophic flood, a warning or a chosen survivor, a vessel or a means of escape, a landing, and a new beginning, appears with a consistency that has no satisfying explanation under the assumption that these stories are purely mythological. Mythology diverges. Shared memory converges. In 1997, geologists William Ryan and Walter Pittman published research proposing that the Black Sea Basin, which is today a large inland sea, was once a freshwater lake sitting well below the Mediterranean sea level. When the ice sheets melted and the Mediterranean rose high enough, it broke through a natural land barrier at what is now the Bosphorus Strait. The water that came through was not a river. It was the Mediterranean Sea pouring through a breach at an estimated 200 times the flow of Niagara Falls. The basin flooded rapidly. The freshwater lake became a saltwater sea. The coastline and everything and everyone living on it went underwater. Sonar surveys of the Black Sea floor have found submerged ancient coastlines and what appear to be remnants of human habitation. This event is estimated to have occurred around 5600 BCE. It is one candidate for the specific memory behind the Mesopotamian flood narrative, given the proximity of the ancient Sumerian civilization to that region. It is not the only candidate. The Younger Dryas flooding events happened early and on a larger scale. What is possible, and what the record suggests, is that the flood narratives are not all pointing to one event. They may be pointing to a period of repeated catastrophic flooding over thousands of years as ice sheets collapsed and coastlines were progressively swallowed. Multiple floods, multiple generations of survivors, all carrying versions of the same story forward. Now, we come to a part of the Sumerian text that most retellings leave out. Because the Atrahasis Epic does not begin with a flood. It begins with a meeting. Before the waters come, the gods convene. They hold a council. And in that council, the decision is made. The god Enlil stands before the assembly and argues that humanity has become too numerous, too loud, too much. Enlil wants them gone. The council agrees. The method chosen is a flood. But the council is not unanimous. One god, Enki, the god of wisdom and fresh water, the same figure who taught humanity civilization in the earliest Sumerian texts, disagrees with the decision. He does not argue openly against it. Instead, he goes to a man named Utnapishtim, and he tells him what is coming. He instructs him to build a vessel. He tells him to gather the seed of all living things. Utnapishtim builds. The flood comes. Almost everything dies. Utnapishtim survives. And when the waters recede, and Enlil discovers what Enki has done, that one man was warned, that one bloodline was preserved, he's furious. Now sit with that for a moment. If the flood was simply a comet, a random cosmic event on a trajectory that had nothing to do with divine decision, why was there a vote? You don't vote on an asteroid. You don't punish someone for warning their neighbor about an earthquake. But Enki was punished for telling one man the truth, for defying what had been decided by the assembly. Which means the oldest written flood narrative, the one that predates every other version by over 1,000 years, does not describe a natural disaster. It describes a decision and a dissenter. In southeastern Turkey, roughly 340 miles from where the Book of Genesis and the Sumerian texts say the survivor's vessel came to rest on Mount Ararat, there's a site that was discovered in 1994. It's called Göbekli Tepe. Its oldest confirmed layers date to approximately 9,600 BCE. To understand what that number means, consider this. The Egyptian pyramids at Giza were built around 2,500 BCE. Stonehenge began construction around 3,000 BCE. Göbekli Tepe predates both by thousands of years. It is the oldest known large-scale structure built by human hands. And what is there should not be there. T-shaped limestone pillars, some standing over 18 feet tall, some weighing up to 20 tons, carved with intricate, sophisticated animal reliefs. Foxes, vultures, scorpions, lions, executed with a skill and intentionality that implies both planning and artistic tradition. The site is laid out with what researchers believe reflects astronomical orientation. The people who built it, according to the mainstream archaeological timeline, were hunter-gatherers. No agriculture, no wheel, no writing, no cities. And yet they quarried, transported, and raised 20-ton limestone pillars. They carved them with precision. They built something that required coordinated labor, architectural planning, and sustained effort across what must have been generations. Graham Hancock and a growing number of researchers argue that the existence of Göbekli Tepe alone demands a reassessment of who was alive and what they were capable of in this period. The mainstream response has been cautious, the debate ongoing. But here is what is not debated. At some point, estimated around 8000 BCE, Göbekli Tepe was buried, not collapsed, not abandoned, deliberately, carefully, completely filled in and covered. And nobody has a clean answer for why. What we do know is where it sits. In the same ancient Near Eastern corridor as every flood text ever written. In the same geographic world as the Sumerian king list, which records kings who ruled before the flood for tens of thousands of years, followed by a gap, followed by kings who ruled after it. Built in the earliest recoverable period after the catastrophe, by someone for a reason we have not yet determined, and then hidden. The science found evidence of a catastrophic impact event 12,900 years ago. 217 cultures remembered a flood. The oldest written version of that flood describes not a natural disaster, but a council, a vote, and a decision made by divine beings. And in the aftermath of it all, in the same corridor of land where those stories were written down, close to where the texts say the survivors came to rest, someone built the most sophisticated structure on Earth at that time, and then buried it. The question the flood narratives leave open isn't just what happened, it's who decided it would. And the question Göbekli Tepe leaves open isn't just who built it, it's what they were protecting or hiding from. Next episode, we go to the ground. If any of this sparked something in you, a question, a connection, a memory of something you were never supposed to know, you're in the right place. Subscribe and come back, we're just getting started. Everything you just heard is documented and it's living. We're actually building a research map in real time as we untangle the names, the timelines, and the identities across cultures. The link is in the description. Come dig in with us.